Excellent. So everybody, you have just participated in the first exercise of the Youth Leadership Programme. That is the very first basic exercise we get young people to do. Except that when they report back, they actually report back in the round. They report back to the whole group. And by doing that, they practice listening, and they have spoken in public for the first time. It's a fantastic little icebreaker, so you will use that with your groups to kick off your session. The discussion of chairmanship. Now, this is where we explain to the young people that we are going to elect officers for our programme. Every young person will be given a participant's handbook, and they turn to page 34, and there is a rather wonderful list of the officers. So you have the president, the vice president, the secretary, and the sergeant-at-arms. And each one has their tasks underlined in the manual. For instance, the president presides over meetings, is responsible for the planning and organisation of meetings, along with the coordinator, I would add there, and make sure that officers and participants are prepared. For instance, the sergeant-at-arms role would be about being responsible for any equipment used, seeing that everybody is comfortable during the meeting, and helping to keep order. So you explain what the tasks are, and then you are going to lead the way into an election for the officers. The method that they recommend is the slate method, in that young people can propose and second somebody they think should be an officer. You will place the names on maybe a chalkboard, if you have a chalkboard or flip chart available. Usually you make 2 slates, and then the young people will vote for a slate. If they're not picked straight away to undertake one of these officer roles, do underline that in session 5 we actually get to do this all over again. So there are more leadership opportunities on the way. But we need to elect officers for our programme if we're going to give the young people a sense of ownership and pride in what they're doing. We will also, in session number 1, be looking at prepared speeches for the next meeting. Whoever comes along with you, if you are the coordinator, as your assistant, it's quite good if they give a little briefing on what a speech consists of, a 5-minute prepared speech. We're encouraging young people to talk about themselves or something that they're very, very keen on, so that we get information about them coming through in the session. It's that icebreaker speech that you mostly know, I know, from your Toastmaster clubs. So we're going to prepare and encourage young people to be doing that at the next meeting. Whoever has been elected the secretary writes down the names of the speakers that are going to speak next time. And then we'll be able to round off the session. It's possible there are other exercises in the coordinator manual that you can use just to round off the session. Again, listening exercises, little speaking exercises, and to wind up the first meeting. Session number 2 is going to be the real introduction to speaking in public. The objective is to learn the elements of a good speech, to become familiar with the purpose and principles of evaluation. And, my friends, it is the first time that we are going to see these timers cards. Everything in our meetings, when we're Toastmasters, runs to a certain time, and there is no reason for it to be any different in Youth Leadership Programme. And so it is usually responsibility of the vice president to have the timers cards and to help the meeting run to time. You can also delegate this task to other young people in the group. It's a good leadership task. Do give the task to others from time to time as well. They love to work with timing cards. I thought it might put them off. I was a bit worried about doing this when I led a session, first of all. But in fact, the young people love the idea of, did I manage to make the green card when I spoke today? Did I get there? They absolutely love this. So do use timing cards. I would personally advise against using lights. I think that lights can be distracting when young people are starting to speak for the first time. They're kind of hovering and looking for the light bulbs going on and off, and I don't think that's terribly helpful. Use coloured cards that are nice and visible. It's the best way to introduce the element of timing into your meeting. The prepared speeches. Well, the prepared speeches will come. Hopefully there'll be 5 or 6 of them. And you will hear some very interesting material from your young people as they start off. Now, be aware they are allowed to use notes. We do not insist on memory work in Youth Leadership Programme. If later on they wish to present from memory, it's not a problem, but they're entitled to use notes. do encourage them to produce bullet notes rather than to read from a sheet. A read speech is much less interesting. Let's encourage them already to have a note form of their speech and to set off and to speak. You will then also have an explanation of evaluation techniques. When you purchase your Youth Leadership Kit, it has a whole set of evaluation forms in it. You also have a specimen of evaluation form, or at least 2 or 3 in fact, inside the participant's manual. And it's good to get the young people, as they're following, to be aware of the criteria we're looking for in the speech. You can give them 1 minute to fill in the form, just like we do in a Toastmasters meeting when we're going to give feedback. Okay, and also get the assistant maybe to discuss the principles of good evaluation. We're going to get into commend, recommend, commend straight away. This is the way that we evaluate at Toastmasters. It's key to our learning skill as adults. It's going to be even more key to the skills of our young people. So do introduce the CR formula. The assistant maybe can deliver that talk. And perhaps you as coordinator and the assistant can take turns at evaluating the first speeches. You could also suggest that 1 or 2 of the more confident young people have a go and actually stand up and say what they wrote down on the forms themselves. The forms are very useful for that. They can already be in the art of evaluation. Then we have a little talk which is given by either coordinator or assistant about the functions of a good speech. Now, let me point out to you that this workbook, which young people get to keep as a souvenir at the end, is not just something that they can store away on a shelf. We would expect them and encourage them to read a chapter every time prior to the meeting. The chapters are very short, often they're only 2 pages. It's not asking a great deal. But if they have read the Introduction to Public Speaking in chapter 2, there is no reason why it isn't a true discussion about what makes a good speech. Draw the information out of your young people. Get them to answer the question, what makes a good speech? And then you, as a coordinator, can feed in the extra little bits of information that might be missing and just build it up so that we have something cohesive. So that's taken you through the first 2 sessions. I wanted to hear tonight from somebody who is in the early stages of coordinating a programme. And so I've invited Rona Harding to come and talk to us about her programme. Would you share your experience, Rona?